Podcast here. Feel free to ask any questions that you may have, and I'll check it at the end. Awesome guest today here with Brad in Colorado. Gotta send in a request to Instagram and let them have them let me just copy and paste what I want to say on here because I have to type it out every time. They don't let me paste anything on the live stream.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
All right, share the page. All right, awesome. All right. Hey guys, if you want to see both Brad and I, you can go to my Facebook or Instagram. See us both. Or YouTube. Search Noel Strain. All right, awesome. Cool. All right, Brad, I'm ready. Awesome. All right, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to today's guest. We have Brad Swanson, who is a love and communication coach. He is out in Colorado and was introduced to Brad by previous guests, and her episode hasn't come out yet, but awesome guest Jasmine, who's here in Miami, and she had just so many just awesome things to say about Brad and how much his friendship has impacted her life. And I knew that we would have a fun conversation to share with you guys today. And so without further ado from me, I want to introduce you guys to Brad. And Brad, if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Yes, yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, it's great to be here. So I'm a love and communication coach, and been doing this professionally for about 17 years. And what that means is like I really just help people learn how to love themselves first, and then learn how to communicate effectively in all aspects of their lives. So with their friends, their family, their romantic relationships, and business, like in everywhere, and how critical love and communication, like communication, really is the space for love to show up in our lives. And so that's what I do.
Love it. Love it. That's those are two
Yeah.
two really important parts of life, and who and what we truly are is the love element.
Yeah.
So I love it. You're helping
Yeah.
helping people be more of who they are, so they can enjoy this life.
Yeah, it's 100% because like how like the reason that it affected me, and the reason I chose that title, because I created my title myself. I did a lot of different kinds of trainings and stuff. I worked with I've been in the transformational field for over 25 years, but the along the journey, the love and communication just landed on me because like I didn't know how to love myself, and I didn't know how to communicate. I sucked at both of them. And so that's when I realized, oh, that's what I'm here to do, was learn how to love myself and communicate. And now I'm here to help others learn the same, because, when you free yourself, when you really have the experience of that kind of self-love and also freedom, and then really being a good communicator, it changes everything. It's a game changer. And, it's one of those ones that lands on you like a, massive epiphany, and it opened my heart up. And I was like, oh, life can be more spectacular and amazing and joyous than I ever possibly thought, but in reality, not as a concept, like for real.
I love it. I love it. What I've noticed, Brad, and I'm sure that your clients, and of course you notice this
Yeah.
as well. I noticed that when I'm because all that I know I can control is like what vibe, frequency, energy, mood, vibration I'm in right here and now. And I know that when I'm in one, call it love or call it, happy, joyful, anything that feels really good, and I'm just enjoying life, I'm present to life. I know that in those moments, my communication is from that place, and from
Yes.
that frequency, and I can trust the things that pop into my mind. Because I'm not going to have a mean or judgmental or angry thought come into my mind if I'm truly in a loving vibration, a loving frequency. And so that's
A
given me
hundred
so
percent.
so much peace over the years to just be able to trust, when I am in the frequency that I like to be in, just to let things flow out. And sometimes even like surprise ourselves with what we say, like, oh, that was awesome.
Things, we're then operating in that the realm of the consciousness that's in that place of joy, and those downloads come to us. They're coming through us because we're finally in that space of clarity where we've removed all the blocks, and we're all super creative beings, and that's where the creativity comes from. It's really fun. It's really joyful. It's an incredible experience. And the thing that helped me the most was one of my primary tenets is what I share with people is that I'm always asking them to make sure they're coming from love and not fear, because fear really tricks people, and that's the place that gets people stuck. And they do it all the time in regards to what the perceived things, the challenging things of this world are money and relationships and sexuality, and just all these things that like seem like, oh, this wouldn't have to do with it, but it does. Like fear is operating people's lives in so many ways they don't even know it. So when they're actually able to take accountability for fear, and they start operating from this frequency of love, well, that's when they tap into that creative, that space and that energy and that frequency where things become fluid and flowing, and they can manifest, and it's just really dope.
Absolutely, I love it. And
Yeah.
it's why I do what I do, Brad. It just I love seeing the light bulb pop on for humanity.
Yes.
And because
Yeah.
for all of us, like I know, like when we first like come to this earth as straight from non-physical to these physical shells that we're in, we're just unconditional
Yeah.
loving little beings, and we're just
That's right.
and then as we get older, go to school, and we start comparing ourselves and telling ourselves and others telling us that we're not enough, then we kind of lose
Yeah.
sight of that. And then I love
Yeah.
what you're doing, and anybody out there that's helping the light bulb pop back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
For you, was it something that because every once in a while I talk to someone, and from the time that they're a child and they're just this loving being, they're allowed to evolve, and like their parents are encouraging them to evolve this way, and like they don't. And then for most of us, like there's like a light bulb moment as an adult where it's like, now I remember who and what I truly am. For you, like
Yeah.
how did that shift kind of take place for you?
Well, mine wasn't that. I mean, I have an amazing family. They're very loving, but they weren't. They were not really. I mean, they were encouraging for my path, but like not in. This. I've been sort of like the rogue one, the black sheep, going down this path of like really, about consciousness and healing and transformation, that kind of thing. So I started this when I was in my 20s, and the thing that triggered me was I had a ton of insecurities growing up. Like I was a good-looking kid, an athlete, all these things, but like I was honestly terrified and insecure as fuck about everything, and didn't know it. And so I took a seminar that was like a weekend seminar that like was the first time I'd ever realized it really hit me. I was like, I don't know shit about anything. They challenged me about becoming a man of my word, about integrity, about communication, all these things that like I'd heard but didn't never had put into play in my life in a way that like it really affected me. And that was the beginning. So I was like 21 when that happened. That changed my whole entire life and my trajectory. And I got so fierce about that healing, and I just kept going. And every book I could read, every class I could take, anything about waking up and healing I was just all over it, because I had so much challenge and insecurity and doubt and worry and all these things, and they just ran my life. Like they ran my life. I was dictated by fear and by jealousy and insecurity, all these things that like people would look at me and they never know that, but that's what was going on behind the scenes. And every time I got a taste of freedom where it shifted, I just was like, I want this more. Like I don't want to be stuck anymore. I don't want to judge anyone. I don't want to judge myself. I don't want to be caught in fear. I don't want to be caught in shame and blame and guilt, around all the different topics. And so I just dug in and was like, this is what my life's gonna be about.
I love it. I love it. And so many of those things that you mentioned, because I think for a lot of us that have had the light bulb switch on, as an adult,
Yeah.
like for me, thank goodness I had a mentor that shared the first like spiritual law of attraction book with me at 25. And then that kind of was the aha moment for me. And I still, even
Yeah.
from that point, there was some more roller coaster ride until I learned to be
Oh yeah.
present in the moment. And
Yeah.
that's been a big part of my journey. But what's interesting with us as human beings is there's a lot of these things that are like blind spots for us that we don't even
Oh
know it's
yeah.
affecting our energy in the
No.
present. And it's like you said, it's like running our life. And when we can like see it and like shine light on it and say, you know what, I see this about myself and I no longer want to be this way. Like I want to be this
Yeah.
way. That starts the process, like you mentioned. And I'm fascinated by how once we kind of choose to evolve and on purpose and allow ourselves to do that, how we just start, attracting information and are open to just, it's a lifelong, evolution for all of us.
Lifelong, it never ends. And for me, like there were so many great teachers I had and mentors and stuff that like, one of the quotes that rocked me when I was young was again, I was 21, so this is 1994. This is all brand new information and energy for me. And one of the mentors was like, he's like, the truth shall set you free, but first it will piss you off. And I just laughed and laughed because every single time it's been something like that, a blind spot, it's always been that. It's always been like, here I am going along thinking I'm behaving a certain way or knowing something. And then it's like I fight and then I'm like, crap. I am just so full of it right here. Didn't know I was, had no clue. And then that realization sets me free in a way to where there's just again more freedom, more joy, no judgment. And that process was painful. It was so painful at first because my ego was running the show just all the time and I didn't know it. Like you don't know what you don't know. And then the more I found out, the more difficult or the more like scared I was, but also kind of like, oh crap, this is going to be like a journey because it's not once. It's a every day. You have to choose it every day. It's a daily choice, and you either choose to become more awakened and aware and really observe these things and not let that the ego come back in and go, oh, now I know this. Now I'm better than everyone else, or I'm this, or I'm that, or whatever. So that is a really incredible divine test, and I just love it now. There was parts when I hated it, but now it's just incredible, and it's this incredible journey, and to get to share that with others, to help them free themselves and realize, hey, we don't have to just because you're aging or growing older. Like life for me is like I'm still like a little kid. I'm a little kid, like everything with music and fun and women and sexuality and like everything. It's just I'm like a little kid. I'm like, oh my god, I'm 47, but I'm like this man child who's got some, I'm like hopefully going towards some wisdom, but I'm also just having a blast.
Me too. You described me perfectly. Like I use the word fun more than any other word. I've noticed that about
Yeah.
myself. And what was my greatest weakness, which was not living in the present 15 years ago, has become
Right.
my greatest strength by far. And just
Yes.
not taking life for granted, knowing that tomorrow's not promised
Yes.
to any of us. So
Yeah. Right.
if
Right.
I have option A and option B, and one sounds really fun, like I'm for sure
Yeah.
gonna choose that like
Yeah.
every time. So
Totally.
I can.
Yeah, I that solidified for me because this last like 6 years ago, I went through this crazy thing that was I was already doing this a long time, but like I had a business that my talk show that like ended up blowing up and not working, and that hurt me emotionally. And I ended up doing this plant medicine journey, this 5-MeO DMT journey, that inadvertently I'd caused harm to myself. Like I had a Kundalini awakening, which I had heard of, but I didn't know was a real thing. And I ended up like basically just blowing myself up, really affecting my nervous system. And I spent 2 years in a hell, in a physical pain, energetic pain that was like nonstop for 2 years. It wouldn't stop, and I was on the verge of suicide every day. And that what it did though is it transformed me because it made me surrender in a way that I've never had to surrender. So like when you say be present, that was the thing that this solidified me being present, because it was like I was in this chronic pain. It wouldn't let up. Every day was a day. I just had to survive to not kill myself. And I've never experienced anything to that level of intensity. But what it did was it freed me, because it was like God was like, look, you're either going to let go and you're going to like make it through this, or you're going to end. But you're never going to go back to any of that old stuff. Not even a moment, not even a second. You're not going back. You're going to stay present. You're going to be grateful. You're going to be joyful, and that's it. And that's what you're going to do from here going forward. And that took 2.5 years before I shifted. and it was the most gnarly thing I've ever been through ever. And so, but also ended up being the greatest gift, you know. So now I'm just like, dude, life's a joy. The fact that I can walk and talk and still like I'm not locked up or dead is a miracle. So I'm just thankful for that.
Absolutely. I sense that from your
Yeah.
vibe, just the thankful, just excited
Yeah.
for life, adventure energy. Like
Yes.
that's how I live
Yeah.
life. Like it's a movie,
It's
you're the
dope.
star, and let's see what adventure unfolds today.
All the suffering that we went through, you know, before was worth it to get to this. You know, people say, I have clients and stuff say all the time, they're like, oh, you know, they're like the suffering, but I wasted so much time. And I'm like, look, I, you know, you go through waves of it, and but if you really get to the other side where you really let that go forever because you can, it's worth it because you're free, and then you get to create your life from this new place for every day, every moment, all the time. And that was something I never was able to do before, you know. So it's just, there is just a gratitude, there really is. It's just this joy that I have, and that's the way I gauge people, right? Like I feel you as well. Like when I'm listening to people, because I have people talk all the time, but I look at them and I go, the two things that I look, if I'm really going to listen to someone, if I'm going to take their advice or really listen to them, I look and I go, are they joyful and are they kind?
Mm-hmm.
If they're joyful and kind, I will totally listen to them. But if they're sitting there saying a bunch of stuff and they're angry and upset, I'm like, I'm not listening to you because you're just talking. You're not living what you're saying. You're full of shit. And so, you know, it's not judgmental. I'm just like that. I can just see that you're not really living it. So that's okay, but you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe if they affirm it enough by just speaking it, then they'll feel it eventually. Because
Well,
I can
yeah,
feel
maybe
it for sure.
sometimes yes. Yeah, sometimes yes, but sometimes it's like, it's just sometimes that I can see that they're saying stuff because they want to believe it, but I'm like, look, here's where you're off. You're still angry about something, or you're sad about something, or you're
Mm-hmm.
upset about something. So let's figure that out. Let's dial that in, click that into place, and see if it will, you know, you'll have that experience, the feeling of it, rather
Absolutely.
than just the vocalization, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm inspired to ask you something because I heard it when you were describing yourself as just being like a kid still, and
yeah,
and I'll preface it with what fascinates me about life and energy, and just we'll talk about the frequency of love. Is it can only be any frequency that we're in. It can only be right now in the present moment. Like we can't these
correct.
days. Like I've been to events where I've literally had the EEG like scanners on, where I've been able to see my energy like live in emotion, which is
Yeah,
just awesome to see that science is at a point where that can actually be measured.
yeah,
So, what we call the frequency of love, or any frequency, can only be measured right here and now. So, what fascinates me is like a lot of times, like I'll see people, saying that, well, I love this person, and this is, I need time to be able to love this person the way, and the person that is in a like relationship, for instance, for 5 years or 10 years or however long, or a year, and right now in the moment, like they're yelling and angry and condemning them or blaming them or judging them, like that's not love in the moment. So maybe
no,
if they took a lighted exercise, maybe they might pass and say, yeah, I love that person, but they're not being loved currently. And then on the flip side, it also fascinates me that there's people in this life that I've met that I didn't know existed 5 seconds ago. And
yeah,
synchronistically, we're both in a good vibe out in the world. And then we meet,
yeah,
end up wanting to spend the rest of the day and night together. And I'm like, what is being measured for me right now? Like I've been in long relationships before. Right now, I'm happily single. I enjoy the adventure of
yeah,
life so much that I'm personally not looking for any monogamous relationship.
yeah,
But if the frequency of love was to be measured in my long relationships where I'm still friends with them and I love them to this day, and the people that I'm just sharing this energy with right here and now, like that you
yeah,
wouldn't know which one is which. Like 5 year, 5 minutes, like
yeah.
it's still love. So, what do you see when it comes to? Because I know a lot of times when you are a love and communication coach, people might think you're just coaching people to have like monogamous relationships, like the fairy tale, what we see on like Disney movies, and maybe that might be what
Oh
some people
no,
want. But I'm
yeah,
not sensing that that's like you're steering
no,
everybody that direction.
no, not at all. No, no, I mean, it's relationships are that runs a gamut. Like it's not just about monogamy. If that's what their actual truth is, and like in all authenticity, then I 100% support that. But love is so much bigger. So like people are starting to understand that it's not just about having some romantic fairy tale, relationship. It's about being your true authentic self, diving into that, and then having partners or partners who support that and who you can be completely honest with. No more cheating and lying and all that stuff. Like, face your fears, dive into the things, and then it gets really interesting because I've had relationships. I've had girlfriends who I've had just straight up committed relationships, and then I've also had girlfriends like where we have been completely honest. We've explored different things, and with complete transparency, and it's just been completely like heart opening, mind opening, just heart blow, like mind blowing because when you face all those fears, you come through the other side and you're like, you really understand who you are and what the things you really truly desire. And you don't have to be ashamed anymore. And so, like you said, monogamy is, there's some people who really, it's in their vibration to be monogamous, and that's fantastic. Like, I support it. And I'm dating right now currently, and I don't have a serious girlfriend, but I'm looking for my divine woman part. And I'm open to how that looks. Like, I just don't have any fear around it. If I'm going to know that we're going to create and explore together, and I'm willing to be present in every moment and do that, because when you really do love yourself and when you love that person, there's a whole new thing that happens, and it is that extraordinary, and it is that amazing, and it is that kind of soul rocking love that exists. But you really have to do a lot of inner work to get there, because then your ego isn't running the show at all anymore. Like, you get to create with this person, and there's so many people who are so it's that amazing because it's that worth doing the work to get there. Because when you get there, you're like, no fucking way that this exists. Like, everything's possible. You do everything together and like create, and people are like, oh, like it's honestly overwhelming because people. That's why everybody's like, oh, this that sort of like it, but it wasn't. They weren't. The fairy tale love was like a bullshit version of it. It wasn't the full expression of it, but it's coming out.
I love it. I love it. No, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm so pro everybody being honest with themselves first and foremost, getting
Yes.
clear, knowing
Yes.
that all
Yeah.
of our life experience is what's given us the clarity to know
Yeah.
what we want, what we don't want, and that will continue to evolve the more life experience that any of us have. And what I notice about, I just can only be the example. Like, anybody out there, you want to help someone, like,
Yes.
first and foremost, like, live it, like, be the example. And so,
Yeah.
like, what my last relationship, Brad, ended January of 2016. And my ex is awesome. Like, she lives in Hawaii now. She was episode 1 of this podcast. And
Awesome.
so 10 years ago, when that relationship started, I didn't know, I wasn't as clear about myself as I am now. And so,
Yes.
as that, uncovered, like, I've always been honest. So I was honest with her, and just that's why the relationship ended, because what I wanted to experience in life was different than what I
Yeah.
thought I wanted 10 years ago.
100%.
And so since then, it's been so much fun. And this is what I want to encourage everybody in the audience, just to have the light bulb switch on. If you're ready for it to switch on when it comes to this. One, there's 7.7 billion humans on the planet. So
Yeah. There's a lot.
whatever your preference is, whatever you
Yeah.
get clear
Yeah.
on as far as what's important to you, they're out there
Yes.
as far as what also
100%.
wants you. And then once you can really, be willing to share that, open and honestly, and not worrying if I'm sharing this with this person, are they going to maybe not want to be with me? Possibly not.
Right.
Like, you have to be
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
shared my truth
Yeah.
with many people in the last 5
Yeah.
years now, since I've been single. 4 years since I've been single, and it's some girls I've shared it with has been like, I respect you so much for telling me that, and at the same time, I'm looking for this, and I feel like I would get hurt by getting involved with you, Noel. And I'm like, I'm so happy that we can, and then I even get to share with them ways that they can better attract what they're looking for, because I'm just happy to share
100%.
that, even if it's not me.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
Correct. Yeah, well, again, that comes back to my point of like not living from fear, right? Because when you really understand that there's just abundance and love and joy, and again, if you have a divine partner, if that's what your soul is seeking on that level, like, that person's on their way to you when you don't restrict and don't come from fear. So, and it really is possible, like, to create anything with like for example, I would love to have like a one woman. I'd love to have that, but I want to create with her. So I'm not. I don't know if I just like want monogamy right now or not. Like, I'm not clear about that completely until I get into an energetic space with someone, with a woman, and but then I'm just like, I know, like, I have all these amazing friends who are in these conscious relationships who are just rocking it. Like, they're just like they're just so blown away by their own relationship because they did the inner work, and now they have this incredible relationship. and they're just loving their life, and they're like, holy shit, this fucking rocks. And so, and that's that's what exists. And so, and you can have, everybody has their own thing, but you have to like dive in to see, again, tell yourself the truth. What is your truth? Explore, look and see. Like, I've been consciously dating the last 3 years really intentionally, and it's been incredible. Where with no attachment, just dating with like no, just clear, pure intentions. And it's just been, I've had wonderful experiences, and I've learned a ton about myself and about women. And I'm just like, it's so rad. And that's something I never did before when I was younger. I never gave myself the space to just date and not latch on to anything or come from any fear. And it's been incredible, So I really think until you kind of explore that way for yourself, people are still coming from a lot of fear and like attachment and ego and all this stuff where, they think that's the thing that's going to satisfy them or fulfill them. And it's not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I encourage everybody out there listening. Like, I'm so pro life experience. Like, go experience more life. If you want to be more clear, just go experience more life.
Yeah, go do it. Go do it. There's just so many amazing people on the planet. Like, there's just beautiful people, and just acknowledging that, not being afraid of it, and just trusting each other, to explore and check things out. It's like, it's just really cool. It's really fun because it's the opposite of how we were all taught growing up. Everything was about like latching on and fear-based and control and all this stuff. And I was a victim of that, and I had tons of insecurities, like I said, jealousy, and that shit it ate me alive. It just messed with me so bad. And I'm glad, like, thank God it did, because it freed me. Like, once that bubble burst, it burst. And I was like, I'm never going back. I'm never going back to that because it was so painful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, this is awesome. I love how this conversation is flowing, Brad. What's something that you would want to share with the audience, no matter when they're attracted to this episode, whether when it's first released or, 50 years from now? I love how the internet just lives on.
Right.
That, just from what you become aware of for you feel could really make a significant impact on their life whenever they hear it. You've been doing it the whole time, but anything that flows out.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is that I feel like the message that's resonating with people that I just want to share again is, and it's something I live by every day, every moment, all the time, is just really, if you really want to help yourself, free yourself, again, it seems really basic, but it's really profound once you really start practicing it, which is, I really do look at every thought I think, every decision I do, every action I take, every single thing I do. I always look to see, it's just become second nature to me now, and it takes practice, is to make sure that I'm coming from love and not fear. And fear shows up it is so sneaky, the way fear shows up, the way fear will control your life, and you will validate it and justify it when it comes to relationships, money, all kinds of stuff, where we're like, oh, no, you don't understand, but I did it because I had, and I'm like, yeah, why was that? Well, because this, I go, yeah, and why? They're like, well, because I was afraid. And I'm like, what did you just say? And they're like, I was afraid. I'm like, oh, shit, right? So people just aren't aware how much they live from fear. It's all the time. It's been embedded in our culture, like in the paradigm and everything. And so if you can free it, you can just become conscious of that one thing and go, why am I putting this in my mouth? Is it out of love for myself or fear? And that could be like, people when they're overeating or eating unhealthy things, that's fear, or they're like, I'm not loving myself, and it's fear in all kinds of different ways, right? So it's really conscious, because when you really do that, it becomes like the air you breathe. And then all of a sudden life starts flowing, like you said, like being present, because then you're present and life flows. And then all of a sudden the things that you want, like the law of attraction, just start coming to you. They just start coming because you've taken all that energy out. So it opens up that thing and it just starts coming. And the goodness starts coming, and it's just like, no way. Like, it's this easy. Like, it's easy, but it's also profound, because you have to be conscious, because, you're going to get tested. You're going to walk outside and somebody's going to hit your car. Somebody's going to, they're like, you owe me money. Like, there's always something that's like, the very first reaction is you go, oh, fuck. And then you go, okay, wait, how do I not come from fear in this moment? And then you get clear, and you come from love. And then it turns into a miracle that you're like, how did that just happen? How? And it's that practice. So that's what I would say. That's the main message, is that, come from love and not fear. It sounds, a lot of people are like, that sounds hokey, but it isn't. It's like, so it has changed my life, like it's so powerful. And I've also, there's a lot of clients I've had like that, for example, I had this guy who was a big time contractor, really successful contractor. And, had coached him for a couple weeks, and he's in this house and he's doing this huge job for this woman. he tells his guys to do this and this and this on this thing, and it rains the next day. And what he told them to do, somehow like it messed up the thing. Well, the rain, it ended up dissolving the roof, and it like caved in on her house. Okay, caused all this damage. And he walks in, and she's yelling at the workers. She's going off, you know. She's livid because he just fucked her house up. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, what's going on, you know? And his normal reaction would be to come from fear and be like, oh my God, you know. She's like, your workers, da, 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 they did this, this, that. And he goes, whoa, calm down, calm down. He goes, listen, it's my fault. He goes, I did it. I told him to do this. It's my responsibility. And he said, I'm sorry. I apologize, and I'll fix it. And she got calm. And then she was like, oh, okay, cool. And then she gave him another $70,000 worth of work on top of that.
For sure.
Because he owned it. He didn't freak out. He owned it. He owned his mistake. And he said, normally, he goes, Brad, he goes, I would have denied that. I would have made excuses. I would have done it. He goes, but in that moment, I heard your voice going, don't come from fear, come from love, own it, take responsibility. And then she's like, here's another $70,000 worth of work.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's when the rubber meets the road. Like, when you cannot panic, that's when it matters.
Absolutely. I love that. That's such a good awareness for anybody, and it's a practice. So don't like beat yourself up if like you don't respond as well as the contractor. You're human, but you can.
No,
Any of us can. Yeah.
It's a practice. It is a practice, but it's just in those are the moments. It's in the moments when it's the easy moments are easy. It's when it's hard. It's that moment when you just that moment was hard and you want to lie, you want to go no, that's the moment when you take a breath and you practice it. And the first time, if you can do it the first time, if you can do it once when it's hard, all of a sudden you trust yourself, and then it's the next time and the next time, and it just becomes easier and easier. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I ever lived that other way.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just get used to living that way. And I'll give everybody a tip. Like, what makes this easier is being, if you can, especially when you first wake up in the morning, if you can get your vibe, your frequency to where you're not immediately like going to worrying about how much stuff you got today, or complaining about something, or being anxious about something, where looking at your phone and be like, shit, it's going to be a long day. Like, if you can, when we first wake up, choose to set our frequency in love or appreciation that I'm alive, that I have a roof over my head, that I have food to eat, just anything, it makes it way easier to step into situations where, because if that contractor, regardless of how practiced he is, if he would have stepped into that environment and he was already like frustrated and worried about things that were going on in life, and then stepped into that, we're human. I don't know many humans that could, like, if they're already in the vibration of frustration or like being upset or anxious, you're just going to keep on in that direction. Make it easier for yourself to get there, just to at least, I like to at least be in the, I'm human too, but if I could be at least at peace or content, just present in the moment, I don't have to be blissed out. I enjoy being blissed out, but that's just not all day, every day.
No, it's not about, for me, it's not about being blissed out. It's like what I learned from this whole experience, especially after that journey I went through, was that I really enjoy being in this human form. I enjoy being grounded in this reality. I don't need to blast off or go out in the ethers to go like float around in my consciousness. Like, I enjoy being in my body and not being in chronic pain. So it's made me like, I really enjoy this reality. And what I love is it's not about being some like blissed out person. It's like, no, I enjoy the reality of these things. I enjoy the physicality. I love the challenge. It's like, I play a lot of sports, and sports, really makes me, I appreciate that. I love the physicality of the challenge of it, pushing my body and my limits and stuff, and so it's the same thing. Like, when I run a marathon and I do CrossFit and I do all these things that like really challenge, really hard. Boxing, I do boxing. Boxing is amazing because
I box too.
If you want to challenge yourself, if you think you're in shape, go box.
Yeah.
I thought I was in shape, and I went boxing, and I was like, oh my God, I am not in shape in this way. Like, this is a whole different kind of thing, because, punching something for 3 minutes straight as hard as you can, and then resting a second, and then punching it again. You do that, for a long time, and you're just like, oh my God, this is really hard. That kind of being in the moment there's a challenge, but there's also like, it also again makes you present, where you have to breathe and you have to like focus on not passing out or throwing up or whatever. And then you're like, this is hard, but I enjoy this hard. I enjoy this challenge. This is a challenge. It's also fun. It's also fun. So everything for me is just becomes fun. It's just fun. It's playing. It's learning. It's pushing myself as a human being. And for me, I don't need to like, I've done lots of substances and I've done all these things. And what I learned from that experience was like, I don't need to go out to the outer reaches of the universe to go and like do that. I was like, no, God was like, look, I'm gonna hand you your ass so that you stop doing this and you're gonna like just enjoy your life.
It's super ironic that you mentioned this, which is awesome because this is how I ended the last podcast, which is just meant to be shared because that means that 2 episodes in a row, we're going to be talking about really just appreciating being in the body and not feeling
Yes.
the need to be, I mean, nothing wrong with going out and like experiencing and being in meditation and
Yeah,
going
yeah,
around. But then
yeah,
we can't forget that all of us chose to come here and be in a physical
yeah,
body, and that we
yeah.
came here to create and to be able to touch things and to be able to feel. And
Yes.
I love being
Yeah,
human. Like I love being physical.
yeah,
I love,
yeah.
so I'm right there
Me
with you
too.
100%. And you have such an
Yeah,
appreciation because of how
yeah.
it was
Well,
almost taken away.
yeah. I mean, I enjoy I enjoy feeling good, and like and those sensations, like when you do a substance or something, it's awesome to feel blissed out and all that kind of thing, and it was fantastic. But I was one of those extreme people who always like went big. I went big when I do stuff. I went big, and then I just had to learn like I don't need to do that. Like I don't need to go that big and cause harm to myself, like cause harm to my physical vessel in a way that like it may not stop. I was like, okay, okay. I was like, I surrender. Like I get it. I won't. I don't need to do that anymore.
For sure.
Because there's a lot of people who they're extreme and they're doing that same thing and they think that they need to go and like harm themselves or that's the way that they're going to wake up or something. And I'm like, I mean, you can, but you also don't have to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm I'm willing to get to bliss by letting the momentum of from peace and content to
Yes.
go up to
There
joy
you
and
go.
happiness, love.
There
And
you
if it gets
go.
to
There you
bliss,
go.
then I'm all for
There you
it.
go. There you go.
But
That's beautiful.
to artificially
That's
take
it.
it there actually scares me a little
That's
bit.
well, that's a great choice. That's a great conscious choice.
Yeah,
That's beautiful to take it, and that's a responsible one to go and with the flow and trust, right? And allow that. That's incredible. Because I did it the other way, and then I, really almost jacked myself up bad. So
I mean, I'm not gonna say like I haven't done any drugs that have helped me get to awesome feelings, but I have noticed about like for instance with like I've done ecstasy before, and it was fun. I've done it a few times, but I don't like how my body feels like the next day. Like I'm
yes,
like I feel a different
yep,
version of myself. I don't
yes,
feel like it just I don't like the
yeah,
drop. So for me that's it's not worth doing for
yeah.
the pleasure to feel the drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I have too. I've done all those things, and it's just again, there's like things that really helped me open up, and it was incredible. But again, it's really about like what I learned was that about these things are here because now I'm responsible for my physicality and my emotionalness. That these things are here for our growth and our enjoyment, all of it, right? So whether it's alcohol or food or substances or sex or money, all these things are like they're just tools for us to enjoy ourselves, not chase, not to chase them, but to use them for fun and enjoy and to share with others. Then it's a whole other experience, because then you can do it in a way that's in balance and you don't have to like, again, cause harm to yourself or others and you can have a fucking blast.
Absolutely. I love it. I love that perspective. I'm right
So,
there with you,
yeah.
brother. So anything
Yeah.
you want to promote to the audience, Brad? What are you excited about right now here, 2020, the beginning of this year? What are you excited about? What's going on?
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about, well, in my own stuff. It's all my stuff is, it's breaking through with Brad. So it's breaking through with Brad on Facebook, breaking through with Brad on my Instagram, and my website. It's just helping people to break through whatever they're going through, whatever fears they're coming through to get to the other side of this place. And I'm excited because I'm like, meeting people like you, where I'm doing this podcast, and then I'm shooting a commercial in a few days here in Colorado. They will be airing locally, and then I had 2 live events that I did in Las Vegas. I'm going to be doing some more live events with some of my healer friends that are going to be really experiential and more about the experience kind of thing. And we'll be posting those fairly soon. We're going to have one in LA and then maybe in New York and then down in Tulum. And so there's just really cool stuff going on. The live events is really fun because that's what people get. It's just a safe space to get really raw and really open and communicate. I just, my own individual practice is taking off like crazy, but there's just a lot of really cool, fun experiential things that we're going to be creating as well. So I'm just super excited about it.
I love it. I love it. You guys definitely follow Brad,
Yeah.
Breaking Through with Brad on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you guys are. And what I know and what I love about social media is once like you know someone exists, which you and I didn't know each other existed before like last week.
Yeah, yeah,
It's fun to see not only potential collaborations in the future, but also like what each other chooses to create. Because I know that it's going to be with this same awesome energy that you brought to this conversation, and it's
yeah,
just going to be awesome whatever it is. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it's super exciting, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing. I love your message and stuff. It's really dope. The Jasmine's an incredible being. She's a great friend of mine, and we have just had wonderful interactions down there. And I'm going to be coming to Miami at some point soon, so you and I can get
awesome,
together and hopefully hang out then too. But
awesome.
it's just I love people who are putting themselves out there. Who for the world to see, to share their message, because this energy. We're all just one, and when we're all the own version, our own version of ourselves, like of source coming through and expressing it in that way. And you're doing it a way, I'm doing mine, and it's dope to collaborate and to keep creating. Because when we're not living in fear or competition, then we're like, wow, let's grow this. Let's see what we can do here.
Absolutely.
It's dope. Yeah,
Absolutely. I agree. I'm all about collaboration. And yeah, it's a
yeah,
conversation I would have wanted to have with you anyways. And I'm happy that we could record it and share it so that other people
yeah,
can be impacted by it. So, no, that's awesome.
yeah. Awesome.
Well, cool. Well, thank you for coming on, Brad. And thank you guys for tuning
Yeah,
in to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Definitely share this episode. It will be impactful for whoever pops into your mind, and share it on your social media and help anybody that comes across it. And rate and review and subscribe if you're not already. Appreciate you guys. Sending you all love and light, positive vibes. Enjoy your day whenever you hear this. And we'll talk to you guys really soon. Thanks so much, Brad. Appreciate you.
awesome. Thank you, Noel. Appreciate you, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, no, that was so much fun. I'm gonna end the stream, and I'll say later to you.